Welcome back to the Cinema Condition with your host, filmmaker, and creator of the Nerdcore Podcast Network, Raul Alejandro Mendoza. And as always, we are back again for another movie with another guest as we continue on with our second season of the Cinema Condition here. And as always, it is a beautiful chance when I get to talk to this person that I have here with me today. And I want to thank everybody for their support of last week's episode as we looked at Makoto Shinkai's Your Name with the wonderful Michelle Ochoa. But today we are being joined once again for the first time in season 2. She will refer to us as the Dream Team. That is none other than the wonderful Leah Byrnes.
What up?
What's going on? It's been a while. It's been a while. I was almost scared that I probably wouldn't have been able to bring you on.
Yeah, I've been a little bit busy with grad school. I'm becoming a librarian. So, just
Mhm.
for anyone out there who wasn't in the know, but I'm in
Yeah.
library school.
I'm not even gonna lie. Part of my ignorance, but I had no idea that you had to go to school to become a librarian.
I wasn't completely sure you had to either. Like back when I was considering it, I was like, oh, you need a master's degree to be a librarian. But yeah, you do. To be an official librarian, you need a
Yeah.
degree.
That's really interesting. But yeah, you are you're working on your masters, and it's been a while since we had you on the show. We were supposed to have you for Horror Month. I mean, that was
I
supposed to be a
know.
thing, and then it did not happen. But you could not miss out on the Cinema Condition.
There's no way.
No
I love
way.
the cinema condition.
Yeah, fuck being on with Brad for like the regular stuff, but like for this, like you can't miss this.
I
Yeah.
mean, Brad probably would have trolled us again with Horror Month. Did he troll you guys? I missed it.
No, he actually picked
Okay.
some pretty good stuff. He picked
Okay,
some
that's
pretty good
good.
stuff. Yeah. Yeah, he didn't troll it. I told him it was very simple. I said, "Bro, you troll again? I'm just we're dropping the idea of a horror month and I'll do whatever the hell I want on October because like I'm not doing this anymore
Hell yeah.
because I could not do another freaking horror month with just troll picks.
Yeah. I don't even remember what that one movie was called that he made us watch, but I just know I hated it.
Ryan the Bullet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Ryan the Bullet was terrible. We're always talking about how Ryan the Bullet is terrible. But yeah. So for those of you who may not know Leah is of course studying to become a librarian now. What's it called? A renowned cinephile. She loves film theory, and all such things. Leah, for those of you who may not know you, anything about yourself? Because I know you've started streaming and stuff. So
Yeah, I
since
do.
the last time you were here.
Yeah, I do stream occasionally on Twitch. My handle's Lumpy Space Bitch, but the I is a 1. Um, I do like variety streams, so mostly Animal Crossing, like cozy stuff, but I also like visual novels, funny dating games like Dream Daddy, and occasionally horror games like White Day, that
Yeah.
Korean horror game.
Yeah. Um, Leah is known for coming on here and talking about castration anxiety anytime that she can get it. She can get the chance to. So I've loved having Leah on the show, and I'm glad that she decided to make her appearance on season 2. But today we'll be looking at their pick for season 2. If you listen to Audition, our episode of Audition, you know that her pick is Ginger Snaps 2000. So we're gonna go ahead and start kind of getting into this. Unless you have any other things you need to bring up, like updates since you've last been here.
Not really. I'm excited to talk about Ginger Snaps.
Yeah. Oh wait, I didn't ask. How are you doing? Like, how's it going out there? The world is falling apart outside of our windows, and what's going on? How are you doing? How are you holding up?
I mean, I'm fine. I'm like lucky in the sense that I get to just stay home and do my degree online, and my boyfriend Chris is also at home, not having to go anywhere. So
Mhm.
we're just inside, vibing, hanging out with the cats, living life.
Yep.
We're fine. Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you.
No, I'm glad you're doing fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, Leah's cats are just beautiful, beautiful cats. I love those
they
cats.
are. I
Yeah,
got Marceline the Vampire Queen and Anyanka, and you can find them on my Twitter a lot, which is
yeah,
also Lumpy Space Bitch if you're curious.
yeah, yeah. They're great. They're great animals. But yeah, no, I just had to check in, just make sure you're doing all right and you're good out there.
Mhm.
And yeah, so with that being said, let's go ahead and get into this. Of course, you all know that we have never discussed a single film made by what's his name? John Fawcett. Fawcett? I don't know. Fawcett? No, I don't know.
Probably, I'm not sure.
Yeah. So I have to introduce you all to the filmmaker known as John Fawcett. And so he was born March 5th, 1968. He's 50 years. That makes him 50 years old, literally. And started his career with directing commercials, and then from that, of course, like most directors, they move on to music videos. And of course, in 1996, he releases his directorial debut, the film called The Boys Club. Have you ever
Ooh.
seen The Boys Club? In 2000, though, he of course directs Ginger Snaps, which is his most well-known film to date, followed by another very well-known project that he worked on. But then in 2005, he directs The Dark, and one of his most famous works actually is the Orphan Black, which is
No.
his BBC America TV show that he did for a couple of years. And he, of course, after that, has been working primarily in TV. He's been directing shows like DC's Titans. So he's kept himself quite busy. But of course, he doesn't have like this grand career that I can have like a bunch written, like, let's say, a Scorsese or something. So, like, I was pretty limited with information about, no information about where he went to school or anything. Kind of just like, yeah, man, he started directing commercials and music videos.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. But today we're not here to talk about the dark or the Orphan Black. You said ooh about Orphan Black. Have you seen Orphan Black?
No, it's been like something I've been wanting to watch though. I get recommended it all the time. So that one was at least something I recognized, but yeah, I've only ever seen Ginger Snaps by him. Like I don't think I've seen any of his other stuff.
Yeah. No, it's all good. It's all good. It's the first thing I'm watching from him. I watched Titans for sure. I mean, I watched the first season of that, so I've seen work of his from
Mhm.
before, but I didn't even know who the hell he is. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're not here to talk about any of that. We're here to talk about Ginger Snaps. And let me go ahead and introduce you all to the film of Ginger Snaps. Basically, Ginger Snaps is about these two girls. They're both sisters. And one day, they are out in the forest and they get attacked by some sort of like rabbit, like mythical creature type. And and the sister Ginger starts to experience some weird form of transformations. And it seems that she is transforming into a werewolf. And all these creepy things start to happen around town as we find out whether or not we can save Ginger from her werewolf transformations. Ginger Snaps was, of course, what's it called? Is the film by John Fawcett. John Fawcett sought out to create a film about transformation, but make it a horror film, and he knew from the beginning that he had to work with girls. Of course, he shopped this around to a couple of writers to help him make the scripts, but a lot of them were reluctant to work with him for this script because of the what's it called, the many problems in the genre of horror, and basically its portrayal of women and how it boxes a lot of women into certain subcategories. So that was very difficult, but he ended up finding a screenwriter to help him make the script, and financing took even longer because nobody wanted to finance this until they met with a producer, with an ex-producer that made more of other films of his, that basically signed on to finance it. That wouldn't be the only thing that was difficult, because then casting was difficult too. But the two actresses that he ended up going for, oh wait, I'm sorry, the casting was difficult mainly because of the gory nature of this film. And for those of us who are around the age of Leah and myself, know that a sort of teen slasher film at this time was very difficult because of the Columbine tragedy before that, and then of other tragedies that had gone down in Canada as well. So it was really hard, and which caused a little bit of public scrutiny from people. But eventually, he found some actresses, and he found these two actresses that are in this film, and it was even better because these actresses literally were born in the same hospital. They went to the same school. They pretty much lived a pretty close life in proximity to each other. So and so that was a lot of help towards the casting aspect. But of course, the film gets made and it becomes a flop. Doesn't make its money. It doesn't have much of a notoriety. But like most of these things go, it gains a cult following, which helped boost DVD sales, and eventually it gave it a sequel and a prequel film and a television series. So eventually things come back to help you with when you when you make a what's it called, a movie that the public doesn't like or the flops, and it ends up becoming reevaluated in a sense, But yeah, Leah,
Mhm.
why would you choose Ginger Snaps?
Well, it's kind of one of my favorite horror movies, actually. I discovered it a couple years ago. It was just free on YouTube of all places where I found it. But it spoke to me, I don't know, it was like one of the first teen movies I saw that actually I felt kind of captured what it's like to be a girl in high school, or be someone in high school who has to go through like the monstrous transformation of puberty. I felt like it just captured that perfectly. It also gave me a lot of Jennifer Body vibes, and that's
Yeah,
probably also why it flopped like a bit ahead of its time in having like that powerful like female figure
yeah.
who eats men.
Of course, what's it called? They're not lying when they talk about like basically the boxed in stereotypes of women in horror. I mean, what's it called? We know of the wonderful term of the final girl who in film in horror. But of course, up to this point, we only know of like Jamie Lee Curtis and the Halloween franchise, and who are those big horror icons for women. But it was very understanding why a lot of these writers will be like, you know what, it's kind of a little hard to take this movie on because you really think you'll make a lot of money with a female led horror film. And of course, it didn't make its money, but it gained a cult following in the sense that it's now being able to be appreciated, kind of in the way that Jennifer's Body kind of did that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do think they were just ahead of their time with the
yeah,
writing. Like, if they had been released now, they'd be so popular. And I know, like, yeah, there is like a huge cult following of this film and Jennifer's Body now, which is like amazing. But I do wish they had got the respect they deserved like 20 years ago.
yeah, yeah. One would hope, right?
Yeah.
But obviously some of these things don't go as well as they plan. Yeah. For those of you who want to see how badly it flopped, would like to know how badly it flopped. On a 4.5 million budget, it made $572,761.
Oh, that's so sad. Oh.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. But hey, these things happen, and what was another big flop that we remember that ended up becoming one of the most important films in all of our time, Blade Runner. So it a cult following is not a bad thing. It's not. But damn, with those numbers not lie, it was a flop.
Yeah.
But
I mean, yeah, I can totally see why it did flop back then,
yeah,
though. It was 2000, right?
yeah, 2000. I
People
understood
weren't ready.
when I read about the Columbine stuff. I was like, oh yeah, no, let's go. There was no way that we would, because essentially this is a teen slasher film. So
Mhm.
I don't think we were ready to see teens being violent after the tragedies of Columbine and other school shootings. So,
Mhm.
with that being said, let's go ahead and get into our conversation of John Fawcett's Ginger Snaps.
Okay.
Le- yeah, I always have to do that. Yeah,
I
yeah.
know.
Let's get into this. One of the main heavy themes, as you can tell, and I feel like we just need to go, just dive right into it. You know, these girls are living in a pretty much like suburban ass, like what's it called,
Like a cul-de-sac.
cul-de-sac in the early 2000s. You know the look. Like I saw some baggy ass jeans on those boys. They were wearing like they had those definitely those hairdos from the freaking early 2000s. I remember, and they still plague my head. Um, and but one of our biggest talks in here is about menstruation.
Mhm.
Yeah. How what's it called? She transforms because she is literally transforming from a little girl into a woman. You
Yeah, I
know,
hate that shit. But yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
Well, I mean,
literally the same night she starts her period, she is bitten by the werewolf. And it's just so funny that right as that happened, she's like, "Oh, I got the curse." And then bam, second curse within minutes and her like period cycle is synced up to the werewolf cycle and we just see
yeah,
her sister like keeping track of both on her little like menstrual calendar and
yeah.
I don't know, I love it.
First of all, from one man to a woman like you to a woman, do pads usually come with calendars? Do these
Um
things?
I have never had that experience actually, but this was the early 2000s, so yeah, maybe a teen starter one could come with a calendar. I just
Okay.
always when I was younger, I don't know, I didn't keep track. It would be like, "Surprise, it's here." And I'd be like,
Ooh,
"Oh,
yeah.
whoops," you know.
Oops,
But
yeah,
yeah. But yeah,
yeah,
I do want to say I do hate that like oh you're a woman now when you start
yeah.
your period because there are people who are not women who
Yeah,
menstruate.
you don't
So I
have to
think this is like
identify as a woman to menstruate. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
I
not
think
just
this
a
like
woman thing.
operates on like an old like it's a little outdated. I mean, it was 20
Yeah,
years ago, but yeah, like that's how the mom is in the movie like,
yeah,
"Oh, Ginger, you're a woman now." And I'm like, "Oh, no."
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's this thing, this idea of like, going into womanhood when you get your first period, and it's like, it's always a thing that I be like, I always have to remember, like, you don't have to identify as a woman to menstruate. There's a lot of people in this world who don't identify as a woman who menstruate. It's not just a woman's problem.
And
It's
there's plenty of women who just don't menstruate. But yeah, I
exactly,
was told the exact same thing, like, when I was growing up too. It's like, "Oh, when you get your period, you're a grown up, you're a woman now." And I'm like, "I don't feel like one. This is just
yeah.
terrible and no one should have to go through it."
Yeah. Yeah. So like this is a very, very constant theme of course, for those of you who are listening and you don't know what menstruation is, what the fuck? What's it called? Where have you been? Have you been living under a rock, or you just don't know any people in your life who menstruate?
Or
Um,
they're not
do
old
we need
enough
to
to know.
do we need to explain this, or do you
I
want to
don't
just
think we need to
okay?
explain what a
Yeah.
period is, but
Yeah.
I do know, like, so, like Carrie, that scene in Carrie where she freaks
Yeah.
out in the shower getting her first period. I don't know why I love horror movies where girls get their first period, but like, um, I know that that probably would have been me if not for my friends telling me what a period was back when I was like prepubescent
Yeah.
because my mom didn't tell us anything
I was
about
just like,
that.
fucking figure it out yourself, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And so like when I did get my first period, like I'm just going here now, I'm gonna tell everyone about my period, but like I was still just kind of a little shocked, even though like I knew
Yeah.
it was something that I was like expecting for a while because I was like a late bloomer, kind of like the girls in Ginger Snaps. But like when it did happen, I was just like, oh God. And I just thought it was like such a shameful thing that I hid it from my mom for like a year or two. Like she didn't even know I was having one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was a lot. There's a lot of not lore, but there's a lot of history that comes with menstruation. Menstruation in medieval times meant that you were ripe for basically what's it called, impregnation, and you're ready to be used for literally what's it called, a baby making machine.
Mhm.
And in this film, it's seen more as a transformative, literal, and figuratively aspect. There's a lot of use of blood in this film, especially blood, of course, from the period, but blood from dogs being what's it called, bit, and what's it called, being
Ripped
mauled
apart.
and ripped apart. But the use of menstruation here is really interesting. How like literally it is not until the menstruation starts that the transforming of the werewolf starts.
Yeah, I've noticed just in the Ginger Snaps movies in general. I haven't seen the prequel, but they always use like the werewolf as kind of like a metaphor for something. So like in
Yeah,
here, it's a metaphor of puberty, like growing up, becoming, yeah, like a sexual creature, but
sexual
also
being.
like STDs, because like we see that she could pass it on to that kid just by having
Mhm.
sex with him. And so
Yeah,
it, yeah, but in like the sequel, it's more of like an addiction metaphor. There's like a lot of like drug seeking
yeah,
behavior from the surviving girl of this movie and having to like deal with her werewolfism. So it's more like a drug metaphor.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely found that like interesting, and especially like it's just like the films that we choose, like both of us, that we when we do these episodes, always have some really interesting like metaphors about its main central figures. It's like, of course, Audition. We had some really interesting discussions on there about what's it called, abjectism and the castration, anxiety, and just female liberation. And the other ones we've talked about, they've had quite their metaphors too. But this one was really interesting, the way that it kind of provides it through menstruation, which is something that at least I have never seen been done before in a film
Hmm.
before. Like, something that is, even though it shouldn't be seen as taboo, and it's seen and it's told that it's like sort of seen as taboo in the film. It's not. It's natural. It's something that happens to anybody with those anybody that can go through it. Yeah, anybody with those organs who will go through it because of those organs. So it's like it's really
Yeah,
interesting that we see a sort of like coming of age film through the process of menstruation.
yeah, I think that's one of the things I really liked about it too when I first saw it. I was like, wow, like I've never seen like a powerful like period film, like with Carrie, it was
Mhm.
scary. It was bad that that was happening to her, but like here we see Ginger just like become like stronger and more confident and like I don't know. It was just such an interesting different
Mhm.
thing. And yeah, I did like that it was like more natural. It wasn't shameful. Even the mom was like, "Oh, this is a normal part of like growing up, like this just happens. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing shameful or bad about it."
No, no, it's nothing shameful or bad about it. It always does interest me how, like, in most of these films, especially the '90s and 2000s, whenever like the women in the films had like their first period, it always had to be like there was a cake involved, about like,
Oh yeah.
"Hey, here you go, kid. Like, good job. You bled from you bled from your vagina today. Let's go get and
Yeah.
give you a cake." Like, you
I
know,
honestly am kind of upset that I never got a cake, but
yeah,
I also didn't tell anyone I had it. I was just
yeah,
like, "LOL, this doesn't exist," pretending it's not a problem.
yeah. Also, Ginger menstruates heavily, and the
Yep,
way that
mood.
it's shown, like the way that the mom finds out, like, God damn, did you freaking stain that panty? Like that thing
Yeah,
was,
I mean, like, that's not too bad, I guess, like, considering she probably wasn't wearing anything like that, like a pad
yeah,
or a tampon,
yeah.
but that was
No,
the
I
first night
expect
it
that that's
happened.
how it is. Yeah,
Yeah, heavy menstruation is terrible. I'm just gonna be talking about my period, why not? But, like, just, like, that bathroom scene where they're in the stall together and you just see the blood just start, like, trickling down the floor and Ginger's like, "Oh god, I'm dying," and they have to go to the nurse and they're
yeah.
like, "You're not dying, like, that's all part of having a period, it's scary," but it's just like
And then,
yeah.
of course, what does the nurse say at the end? What's it called? That basically reiterates again that throughout this film you're kind of being transformed, and you're being transformed into a monster, but the monster is mostly being seen as a only sexual being. She's like well, now you got to protect yourself from like pregnancy and STDs. So here are two condoms.
Yeah, here's
Yeah,
condoms.
here's condoms.
Actually, just funny, quick thing about the condoms. So if the actress who plays Bridget, she's not really in that many notable roles after this one, but
Mhm.
she does have an iconic role in Juno. She works at the abortion clinic, and she is the one who does the line where she like hands out the boysenberry condoms, and she's like, makes my boyfriend's junk smell like pie. And that is how I recognized her from that iconic line.
That's amazing. Yeah,
I know. But that's the only thing I recognize her from now. I don't know what else she's doing, other than, of course, she was in the sequel. But
yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, this would definitely, well, it's like, I don't think she was gonna be getting a lot more work after the movie, like, kind of flopped, but
yeah, I mean, the girl who played Ginger did pretty well. I can't remember everything else she's in. I know she did American Mary, though, and that's kind of another, like, cult classic
yeah.
horror film.
So, any other observations with like menstruation that you found in this film? Of course, the you said it once again, reiterated that the what's it called, the menstruation cycle literally warps with the wolf transformation. So it's like also just the more that she kind of progresses with this wolf, the more that she taps more into becoming this very sexual being, which
Mhm,
is, I mean, once again, I do believe that like that monster that everybody talks about in this film is literally this becoming the image of what um you know men, especially at that time, see girls as, and it's basically
mhm.
purely sexual beings.
I I do love the scene, like, before she goes to have like sex with that kid. I don't remember his name, but like she is getting like, yeah, progressively more sexual, but like at this time, like, going through puberty, like hormones explain that, and it's just so funny when they're taking off in their car and Bridget's like, she's ovulating.
She's ovulating.
But yeah, but I don't know. I guess maybe just like a quick review for people who missed the audition episode where I talk about Julia Kristova's theory of the abject. I think this movie is the perfect example of that, and like the monstrous feminine that Barbara Creed talks about. So, like, in a lot of horror movies, women are seen as like monstrous and something to be feared when they do go through these like sexual revolutions and like become more in power. And you see that just so many times throughout this film, like when I think his name was Jason, maybe Jason was like going to like initiate intercourse. That sounded so weird, but he wanted to like have sex with Ginger,
Mhm.
and oh god, what did he say? He
Oh,
was like,
I'm the man.
yeah, he was
Yeah,
like, lay down and relax or something, and she was like, no, you lay down and relax. And I was just like, yes.
yeah.
But yeah, so like you see that, and like as she's like getting it on with them, like you see her like the transformation of like her spine like morphing as she becomes more werewolf like, just while initiating that
Mhm.
sexual encounter. So it's like just the perfect example of a woman being sexual and monstrous. And then like with the menstruation, that is like one of the things of the abject. So the abject is something that does not respect borders or rules. It is rooted in subjectivity and unhealthy concentration of maternal function. So, like reproduction and like menstruation, it's what's loathsome. It's abominations like decay, death, menstruation, like
Yeah,
vomiting, stuff like that. And so it's just, I don't know, it's the
yeah,
perfect abject monstrous
yeah,
woman film, I think. For people who just like want a basic understanding of it, just watch Ginger Snaps and you'll get
yeah.
it.
I think that there's like a specific example that I could derive about what you're kind of leading towards. Where
Mhm.
like Bridget, of course, towards the end of the film, we find out that Bridget cuts herself, and what's it called, Ginger grabs Ginger's hand, and they
Oh yeah,
basically
like the blood
transmit
bond.
it. And then while Ginger is like completely in werewolf, and she's like pretty much killed Sam, Bridget, like, what's it called, under the trance of becoming the werewolf, just puts her hand in Sam's blood and picks it up and licks it and repeatedly licks it and repeatedly licks it until she finds out, like, no, never mind, this is, and vomits,
Yeah.
and the blood back out. So I think if you want to, if you want an example of that, I think that's one of the biggest clear examples you can get in the movie. There's literally showing it to you, like showing it
Yeah,
right
that
there.
seems so nasty, but I love it
Yeah,
because it's like, she's trying to bond with her werewolf sister. Like, okay, I guess like this is what I'm gonna go through. I'm gonna do it with you, and then she's like, I can't. Just vomits it out everywhere.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, and I was excited for you to bring that up because of course, like, our discussion of audition and literally the fucking man eating the vomit. So like there's
I know.
that.
I pick like the grossest movies, don't I?
Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. That's why I love having you on, because we talk. I have I have Leah on because, first of all, Leah's not scared to talk about eroticism, and I love Leah because of that. Because I can finally talk about movies like, in the realm of the senses with Leah, and like The Handmaiden and stuff like that. And then also Leah picks this really weird shit where there's like blood and guts and stuff, and I would like to talk about that too. So
Yeah. I just
yeah,
prefer the weird movies. Like I want something different in this
yeah,
movie. It's
yeah,
definitely different from everything I've seen. Although it does remind me a lot now of Jennifer's Body, just rewatching it again.
yeah. Yeah. So with that said, we're gonna go into a quick break, but when we come back from break, we're gonna go ahead and keep on discussing some more of the themes present within Ginger Snaps. But in the meantime, please take 5 minutes to listen to these words from the other shows on the Nerdcore Podcast Network, and we'll be back after these words. Hey, I'm Raul Mendoza, and this is
Jabril Newton.
and we are the hosts of High Flyer Radio. And finally, pro wrestling has come back to the Nerdcore podcast feed in the form of a show hosted by Jabril and I. And we talk about everything and anything in the pro wrestling world on Mondays at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Nothing's off limits. Whatever you guys want to talk about, if it's from AEW to SmackDown to Raw to NXT, nothing's off the table. We can talk about it.
We're going to talk all about it. And if you can get it a day early, you should go to the www.patreon.com/thenerdcore and pledge to the tiers on there so you can get this show and a lot of shows days early before anybody else gets to hear it. But enough talking about it. We'll go ahead and see you there at the Squared Circle.
Oh, yeah.
Don't tap out. Tune in.
Tune in.
Hello, guys and gals, and you're listening to The Ladies of Nerdcore. I am your host, Daniela Nunez, and along with my amazing co-host, Ashley Garcia, we discuss many things like social impact, pop culture, political realms, and any controversy surrounding the Nerdverse. Tune in and listen to us bi-weekly on the Nerdcore podcast feed, and we will love to chat and hear your thoughts on our wonderful show. And thank you again for listening to The Ladies of Nerdcore.
Hey everyone, my name is Raul, the Nerd Chicano, and I am the host of The Impaired Files. The Impaired Files is a interview show brought to you every Thursday on the Nerdcore podcast feed. And I interview people such as filmmakers, content creators on YouTube, and podcasters like Colton Geschwander. And if you want to listen to that early, a whole week early, all you got to do is go to the Patreon and pledge to the $1 tier. And if you want to listen to it with the general public, then go to Nerdcore podcast feed on anchor.fm/the Nerdcore. And the case is closed, but it's not classified. See you guys there.
Hey, it's Ashley from the Gamer Core. You may remember me from such episodes as Big Screen Mess, Mo Money Mo Platforms, and Brad Can Read. Tune in weekly as I blab with my co-hosts Raul the Nerdy Chicano and Brad the Random Germ about the latest news in gaming and gush over what we're playing at the moment. Oh yeah, and we got the deals too. Keep up with the latest deals in gaming and what's happening as I mediate Brad and Raul fighting like a married couple. Will Death Stranding ever come out? Will Cyberpunk 2077 live up to the hype? Is a next-gen worth a $500 console price tag? And has there ever been a movie adaptation of a video game that's been done right? It's all on the Gamer Core podcast, everywhere where podcasts are.
Hey guys, this is Brad, aka Young Yoda. Raul said I had to make an ad, so that's what I'm doing. It's supposed to be for Unstructured, but as you guys know, you can freaking catch me everywhere when it comes to this podcast feed. You can find me on the Nerd Cores, on Gamer Cores, on Nerdy Chicanos sometimes when I get lost. But for this particular one, I want you guys to go check out Unstructured. The Raul gave me free reign to do whatever I want to do. I don't know what he was thinking. So go hear me talk about LeBron James and Taco Tuesday, vaping, so many other freaking weird topics that chimichangas, that's a good one. Shout out to Deadpool. And yeah, I guess this is the end of the ad. So if you guys want to find me, you can find me all over the place on this podcast feed. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. I love you all. And nerd up.
Hey everyone, I'm Raul.
And I'm Brad.
And we're the hosts of the Nerdcore Podcast, the podcast that talks that nerd. Not on this ad, right? And we come to you every Monday, Tuesday, and Saturday. On the Mondays, we talk the news. That's the box office, the news of the week, and your trailer talk if there is any. And on Tuesday, we have our theme review. And on Saturday, you have a Saturday morning review, usually movies that have come out in the week or anything we want to talk about. Right, Brett?
Exactly. Whatever we want to talk about, this is our show. If you don't like it, then you don't have to listen.
We're the flagship show of the Nerdcore Podcast feed, and we can be found everywhere you can listen to podcasts like Stitcher, Apple Podcasts. So if you want to talk that nerd stuff with us every Monday, Tuesday, and Saturday, make sure you tune in. And Brad?
Young Yoda out.
Welcome back to the Cinema Condition. As always, we are here for our wonderful film that we get to discuss today, and I'm seeing that I'm off frame a lot here. I'm trying to change. You know what? The beautiful thing, and that leads me into the great ad. Thank you guys so much for listening to those ads for the other shows on the Nerdcore Podcast Network. As always, if you want to see how badly framed I am right now, you just need to be a Patreon supporter at the $1 tier and above, and you get to see my beautiful face, and you get to see Leah's beautiful face. It is really beautiful, guys. She did a lot of work on her makeup. If you want to see it, please go to patreon.com/nerdcore. You get these episodes weeks early before they release to the public. And that's the cool thing about being a patron. And also make sure you go in and leave a rate review on the Nerdcore Podcast feed at your Apple Podcast app for the Nerdcore. I love getting my ads wrong. I love it. I need to write a freaking script. You can go on your Apple Podcast app. You can go and search up the Nerdcore. We'll be there. You leave a rate review. And it really helps us get some traction and get some attention on us. And you can do the same for the Cinema Condition feed, because the Cinema Condition Season 2 will only be premiering here on the Cinema Condition feed. So if you want to catch the Cinema Condition feed, you need to be on this feed. So make sure you guys go and check that out. And as always, I do value all the support that you guys give us. And of course, reminder, if you want to get these beautiful faces for all the episodes, video versions, early, you go to patreon.com/nerdcore, CORPS. All right.
Do it, guys. I'm really hot.
Yeah. Guys, she's not lying. Leah is freaking hot, like really, really hot. Like she's really freaking hot. Do it, please. Like I know how y'all think. Please go to patreon.com/nerdcore and watch this video, because Leah is, god damn, she's so hot.
Yeah, and like my hair, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So she's also a really smart person and really, really cool, other than that. But let's get back into our conversation here.
Okay.
Of course
we'll stop hitting on me.
Yeah. I do enough of that in the DMs, right? Chris is gonna come and whoop my ass one of these days. But it's okay.
Nah.
Yeah.
He likes you.
Yeah. I'm glad he likes me. Yeah. I'm glad. But yeah, I was like, let's go back into our conversation on ginger snaps. We can talk about hot Leah after the recording ends. Yeah, so we come back, and I wanted to go more into, so like, how very sexualized the let's be real honest here, the girls, because they're not women. They're not grown women.
They're 15 and 16, I think.
Yeah, they're girls. They're children. Pretty much, they're teenage girls. how heavily sexualized these girls are. Um, First of all, if you didn't know this was a 2000s film, I think you will get it by the way that these dudes hit, like literally catcall these girls.
Oh God,
Come
yeah.
on, come do it for pop, do it for daddy, bounce, bounce. That's
Yeah.
right, that's right, right on, right on. I'm like, I was like,
I
oh,
know. That kid is literally the worst. He's like so cringy.
like, holy shit, dude, is your fucking boner like absolutely trying to pop out of your damn like, or like where they like suddenly find it so like that was such a 2000s trope. Like how suddenly it's so arousing to see two women fight. Like that was such a 90s and 2000s thing. I never understood that. Like,
Usually it's more of like a cat fight, though, but
yeah,
like Ginger beats the crap
shit
out of
out
that
of her.
girl.
Yeah, yeah. Which is like once again we go back to the idea that these like our main commentary on this film is just like how heavily sexualized we make these girls feel like, and how like once you get that first period, like it's being seen like your step into becoming a sexual being who is now ready to reproduce and is ready to have sex, and you're told like, yeah, you should use this because it's going to help you, condom, right? But like, you're never actually educated on what it means to have sex. So she doesn't use protection, and suddenly I feel like there's this like sudden sort of like responsibility to be a sexual being without some sort of advice and help onto how to be a safe person having sex.
Yeah, I feel like that's still a problem now. So like probably yeah, like 20 years ago, sex ed still wasn't amazing, but it's still not great now. There's like a lot of improvements for sure that need to be done, especially in regards to like LGBT, like
Oh yeah.
sex ed, and just anything that deviates just from like hetero standards, But yeah, like I know for sure I didn't get a lot of sexual education either when I was that age. Like there definitely just
Yeah.
still needs to be more
I mean,
of
I
that.
think we can be, to be bluntly honest here. I believe the extent of our sexual education was abstinence. It's called use condoms and
Mhm.
beware STDs. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sex education is purely heteronormative in the sense that we think about it. There is no room for there's no room for discussion of gay sex at all.
And when it is discussed, it's more along the lines of like talking about STDs and
Yeah,
stuff because they
or
just assume.
yeah, or
Yeah.
beware of sticking it in the ass because you can get cancer that way. It's like,
Yeah, it's just like I don't know, there's a lot of improvements that need to be done for
yeah,
sure. Even this is like 20 years after this movie's been made.
yeah,
But I mean, it is interesting that this movie does treat like the werewolfism just kind of like an STI because
yeah.
they weren't prepared to deal with
Reminds me
it.
of a lot of It Follows.
Oh yeah, I did
In,
not like It Follows.
I mean, like in the sense of like the way that it presents that as well.
Yeah, because like what was it in It Follows? Like you have sex and then like that creepy ghost thing follows you around and kills you unless you
Yeah,
pass it on to somebody
yeah.
else. Yeah, I don't know. That movie was weird. I was like, just go to outer space. It can't follow you there. It walks so slow. Like, just fucking go to the moon. You're
Yeah,
fine. I don't know.
yeah. Remember, Leah, it doesn't matter whether we like the film or not.
I know.
It still has a lot to be discussed. But
Well,
you
yeah,
know,
it is like an interesting movie. I just like I found myself just kind of like bored and over it.
yeah,
Maybe it's just because I'm more on like the ace spectrum too. So I'm like, oh, this wouldn't even like be a problem for me. Like,
yeah. Okay, what's it called? Can't get this shit if I masturbate. It's all good.
I
But
mean, yeah, also
yeah,
that.
yeah. So but once again, like I was saying, throughout this film, how constantly the boys are talking about like, oh, look at the rack on Ginger, like look at the who even fucking
I
uses
know.
rack still. God damn it, who still
I
uses
know.
rack?
And
Like,
she has like I don't know, not to be like ogling her or anything, but
yeah,
she was very flat chested still in those
yeah. Let's
scenes
be
because she's like
real, like
sitting. But yeah, they're like, oh yeah, she's so hot, and just like checking out the girls' like butts as they run around in their sweatpants in gym
yeah.
class, and it's like, calm the fuck down.
And,
But yeah,
but
that is
also,
such a teen movie trope from that
yeah,
decade. Or, like, yeah.
and also there's some like really interesting use of like how the whole idea of being of feeling like competition to other sexual beings, with the girl who was trying to get with the drug dealer, how she's
Yeah,
like,
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of like women on women fighting each other at this time because we got like
yeah,
edgy Bridget and Ginger just like making fun of her just because she's like preppy. And I like for sure
yeah,
I did that too when I was in high school. Like you just kind of are in those cliques, and like you just don't really think much about like the person or their feelings other than like, oh, that's a jock and I'm like a cool goth girl, so like fuck them. But like
we are products of the '90s. Remember,
yeah,
when that
exactly.
was like
Like,
so.
yeah, this took me just right back to that moment where everyone's just being really catty with each other. I hope it's different now. I kind of have some hope after working with kids a little bit that I don't know, kids are hopefully less mean to each other.
I mean, I would hope so, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of like woman on woman fighting. There's a sort of kind of a weird sense of just how sexualized these girls are now, like especially if you look at like in the way that there's like no support from the parents about this transformation. Like the father is just like, what's up, I'm here, like,
Well, yeah. I mean, that's I feel like how most I don't know, at least dads, white dads, suburban dads, like 20
yeah,
years ago were.
yeah. But then you have the mom who like truly cares for these girls, but
I kind of love the mom.
the mom is great. One of my favorite things about this film is how the mom is like, like, I don't care what happened. Like, I'll set a match to that house. We'll leave. We'll start over. I don't care. Like, just be
Yes, I
safe.
wrote that like in my notes. Like I was like, I'm loving that she's just ready to leave everything to be a fugitive with like her kids on the run, and she's going around everywhere carrying those like fingers in her little Tupperware container and her
Mhm.
like gardening gloves. And I was like,
You just fucking burned it. First of all, like first of all, I love a lot of like these. Not to get too reviewy because that's not what this show is. But
mhm,
when the dad finds the what's it called, the fingers, is like, what the
yeah,
hell is it? And then the mom's just like, they're just fake, you big dummy. I'm
I
like,
know,
big baby. I
I
was
love
like, I
her.
really like the mom. I love how the mom is, other than the other examples of most of the women in this film, how catty they are, but like you have the mom who's like really supportive and like really tries to be there for her kids and
Yeah, and
really,
it's actually just like really surprising considering how kind of strange her kids are, like compared to her, because she's like more of that like stereotypical normal suburban mom, like housewife, taking care of the house, that stuff. And then her kids are just so completely different, but she still loves them so much, and you can see that. Like, I love that part of the movie.
yeah, I really love that too. But of course, what's it called? There's supposed like there's never sex actually shown on the film. It's insinuated that it's being like, of course, the transformation literally what's it called goes hand in hand with the sex. Of course, when he's having sex with that one white kid, what's it called? Her spine just pops out, or like when she's trying to have sex with the drug dealer, what's it called? She's already like fully growing into the werewolf. Like she's like a couple of stages before actually going full werewolf. And I thought that was really interesting. So like before we go into like the full like transformation discussion about the werewolf, you want to go ahead and talk about like the fun facts you found out about werewolves and stuff?
Yeah, actually, one second before we do that is I wanted to just do this one quote because it ties into the sexual discussion and kind of like the catty girl thing. But when they accidentally kill that girl and bury her in the greenhouse or
Mhm.
whatever. And Ginger's like, or Bridget's like, are you going to eat her? And Ginger just starts cracking up and she's like, no, that would be like fucking her. And I just thought that was just so funny because, yeah, it just
Yeah,
like ties in like the
yeah,
sexuality, just like that monstrous woman thing again. And I don't know, that's like one of my favorite lines
yeah.
from the movie.
Be like fucking her.
It would be like fucking her. Yeah. Okay. So some things I was looking up just basic like I don't know, a little bit of history of werewolves. Like I don't know. how I know like monster movies you are, what kind of background you have with werewolves. I was always more into like vampires, so I've never really like
I was more into
gone
vampires too.
yeah, I wasn't super deep into the werewolf lore, except I did love the werewolves in like Underworld
Oh
and
yeah.
Hemlock Grove. Have you seen Hemlock Grove?
No, I've never seen
It's
Hemlock
good.
Grove.
It's got like the goriest, most beautiful werewolf transformation I've ever seen. But so I was just like looking through just kind of like at the myths of werewolves, like the lore and stuff, and I just thought it was interesting. So in this film, the Hollywood werewolf rules don't apply, right? So like she doesn't change on a full moon, she doesn't have to die by a silver bullet. And so apparently back in the day there were so many different ways that you like they thought you could become a werewolf. So you could be cursed, which is funny that she transforms right after. She's like, oh, I've got the curse. But it was believed that werewolves could dress in like a special protective wolf skin, and they could take it off like during the day to be human. So like it's like some sort of kind of like magic pelt that they would take on and off to go in between wolf forms. They thought you could become a werewolf if you were conceived under a new moon, if you ate certain herbs, if you slept under the full moon on a Friday, or if you drank water that had been touched by a wolf, or eating like wolf meat that had been mixed with that of a human. I don't know, but for some reason, not a lot of that other stuff got like remembered, other than like, I don't know, the full moon stuff just kind of hit and like stayed a popular thing, you know? But I just thought that was really interesting. And where is this other stuff? I have like a couple articles pulled up. So there were like these different like health disorders too that could have encouraged like the werewolf mania throughout history. So there's like Pitt-Hopkins syndrome, and I think that makes you a little bit like, I don't know, not wanting to go out in the sunlight, because I think it affects your skin and it gives you like seizures and lack of speech and like kind of distorted facial features. There's lycanthropy, which is a rare psychological condition that causes people to believe they're changing into a wolf or another animal. So, you know, furries, I guess, would count.
This is the first on the cinema condition. We bring up the furries.
I mean, furries, some furries are cool. Food poisoning, I guess, was something that people thought could be attributed to werewolf mania. Hypertrichosis, that like excessive hair growth, rabies, and hallucination, possibly caused by hallucinogenic herbs, which makes sense why they thought like eating certain herbs could turn you into a werewolf if people are just like hallucinating.
Which
and,
makes sense why the Muskendoff is what's believed to be the cure here to stop the transformation.
Yeah. What was it called? Like there was a
Muskendoff, I think.
yeah, there was like a special word for it too. It was like werewolf's bane or something too.
Wolfsbane.
Wolfsbane, was that it? Okay.
I don't think so. I was just
I don't know.
That's the first thing that comes to my mind, Wolfsbane. But that's because I'm a fucking nerd.
It does look like it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Monk's Hood, Wolfsbane.
Monks, yeah. Oh, it's
Yeah,
Wolfsbane?
yeah. So it is Wolfsbane.
All right,
Yeah.
it helps to be a fucking nerd, you see?
Yeah, it does. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I thought that was just kind of interesting, and it just kind of also got me thinking about just how like in a lot of like the old monster movies, I've only noticed that a lot of the men were werewolves. So this was actually the first movie I saw that had a female werewolf, and that might be part of why I love it so much and why it just stuck out as so different, because a lot of the time it was men.
and that's what was so interesting that I was going to bring up within our conversation about the whole transformation aspect of this. First of all, what's it called? Production was really hard on this film because of the fact that they did not want to use CGI. They wanted to go purely
The
what's
old
it
school
called?
special effects.
Old school special effects, baby.
I
You know,
love that. I thought that was a good choice.
which is a really good choice. But I was going to say that what was interesting because we've never seen, you know, what's it called, women as werewolves. You know, it's always men, hairy ass man. You know, it's called. If you talk about werewolves, the first thing that pops in your mind, of course, Taylor Lautner in Twilight. You know, as Jacob being a fucking werewolf.
Okay, but he was like adorable because he wasn't like with a gross like humanoid
Yeah.
werewolf. He was just a giant, cute, adorable, fuzzy wolf.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, you know, you
But
think
yeah,
about it's men. It's men who usually are these transformative creatures, but in this movie it's different. You're having the woman be the transformative creature. You're having her literally represent this monster of a sexual being that she's being forced to kind of be created into.
yeah. Now that you got me thinking about Twilight, there is one female werewolf, Leah, in the troupe. So it does make me think back to that too. But she was like, it was like everyone was surprised when she
Yeah.
became a werewolf. And I don't know. I can't remember if there were like notable female werewolves in Underworld. It's been like driving me crazy trying to think about it because like I just remember all like the hot female vampires, but
Yeah.
like the
Yeah,
licensed
fucking hot
version too.
vampires. Yeah.
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 But obviously there had to be
There had to
female
be a couple
werewolves
of
because they
lichens.
had like a whole colony because like the vampires had like enslaved them in one of the movies. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Fucking
that's like a whole
Underworld.
other tangent. I
Underworld
love
was so
it
fucking
though.
wild.
It
But
was great.
yeah. But it was just that was kind of was great. And throughout the film you never really kind of like, so this is the last topic that I had to bring up and I had to tie it in with the transformation. Throughout the film, you know, of course she's hurting people and killing them, but it's coming from an ingrained fear of assault, specifically sexual assault that I picked up on. You know, Ginger doesn't, what's it called, kills no, what's it called, the janitor, because he says he's looking at you a certain way. I feel like he's gonna hurt you, like rape you. What's it called?
Yeah,
She snaps on Sam, the drug dealer, because she thinks that she's gonna rape, what's it called, Bridget.
Bridget.
Yeah. Of course what's it called, she what's it called, transforms the guy she first sleeps with, and you know, because he kind of wants to take control of the sex instead of allowing her to do her own thing. So like there's this really interesting kind of use of like the fear of assault within this film. I don't know if you picked up on that.
I didn't really see it as that way. I saw it more as like just Ginger wanting to be in control, specifically in control of Bridget, because Bridget
Yeah.
was never afraid of Sam, and I don't think she had any reason to be, or the janitor. The janitor seemed like a nice guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real honest. That janitor seemed like a really nice dude.
I know. Yeah, I think it was more like Ginger didn't want Bridget to like become kind of like a sexual being like herself, because even when Bridget's talking about like, oh, Ginger, you're turning into like this person I don't recognize, you're like a monster, and Ginger's like, the only monster I see is like you with your little like green eyes, like being a jealous monster, you know. So I think it was just a way of Ginger to control Bridget, and for the most part throughout the movie that worked, because Bridget would just go along with her bullshit until the very end when she, you know, has to end up killing Ginger. And that, to me, that just finally like signified like she was finally just not going to do what Ginger wanted anymore, because she was like, I won't die here with you, like even though that was their pact, like they would die together, and she was like, I can't, like I need to live.
Yeah. I mean, I bring up the fear of assault as just like as it's being seen as like sort of instinct to, you know, kind of protect the sister from any possible threats that are being like shown throughout here. And of course, I stand firmly with the idea that that janitor did not deserve that. That janitor looked like he was a nice man, acted like he was a nice man. What's it called? You know, there was a lot of other people in this film that you could have killed before you ever killed the freaking janitor. But
I don't think he deserved it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, all fair in love and freaking war, of course.
Yeah.
But it was just that was just something interesting that I kind of picked up, and how like her what's it called, her first instinct is just to believe that these people are going to assault assault Bridget, and therefore she has to, like, unleash her fury on them.
Yeah, I mean, just like, yeah, it wasn't something I like super noticed at first, other than, yeah, like it is. She does say a lot. Like, she's like, "Oh, you're gonna get like assaulted and stuff." But I guess it is just kind of like something
Mhm.
that's always in the back of your mind when you're
Yeah.
like a woman around men, and so yeah, I can see like why she was afraid of that. It's just like an everyday fear for most of us.
Now, what I didn't understand, why was it going against the dogs? What did the dogs do? Like, is there
Oh
some
yeah.
sort of like werewolf lore where they hate dogs?
I don't really think so. It's just kind of like, I think maybe like, you noticed how the dog, like when Ginger like changed, got like really aggro, and like I think it just might have been a way of getting them to shut up and like stop
Yeah.
being so aggro and like outing them. And dogs are easy prey, I think, for them, in the sense that like most people would be inside and their dog would just be out in the yard. So I think it was just
Yeah.
kind of like, like more people have dogs outside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope. I was just like, does these poor dogs, like, these poor dogs are just getting mauled like one by one, like.
Yeah, so that should just be a warning we put for anybody who wants to watch the
Yeah.
movie. Like, yes, the
Poor
dog
fucking dog.
dies. Several dogs die. It's
Yeah,
not, I don't know. It's like, it's sad, but it doesn't look super realistic just because of how they went with the special
yeah,
effects. So like, it is gory, but
yeah,
I don't know, if you're fine with like cheesy special effects, then it won't
yeah.
bother you.
I was gonna definitely. This is definitely a 2000s horror film. I think if you guys, what's it called, view it, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But like, it was. Yeah, I was just like, that was something that would just like stood out to me. I was like, these dogs are getting like fucking murdered like left and right throughout this whole movie. But is there anything
Yeah.
else you need to bring up before we like wrap up?
I don't know. I mean, like, I think Ginger had a pretty good reason for killing Norman, that little yappy dog, you know? Like, she's like, "Oh, you wouldn't shut up," you know?
Yeah,
She
yeah.
had a grudge.
She had a grudge to go with that dog, so of course they had to kill. She had to kill that dog. Yeah, but
Yeah.
all the other ones just goddamn, like they were just like laid out there and like, damn.
I know. I love the special effects in this movie, though. Like, I don't know if you ever saw the show Face Off, that had like it was like a special effects competition, but it got me like really into that stuff. So I love anything like this, even if it's got cheesy special effects. It's like my
Yeah,
jam.
yeah. So anything else you want to bring up?
I will just, I guess, end it with one of my favorite quotes, I guess. They were just making fun of some of the boys and they called them hormonal toilets. And I just think that's hilarious and a great way to describe teenage boys during
Teenage boys.
this time.
I love that. I love that
I
metaphor.
know. I know. I'm
Yeah,
kind of just like, I'm going to use that hormonal toilet. That's like,
yeah,
it's my new thing.
yeah. All right. Well, that concludes our discussion of Ginger Snaps 2000. And as always, it's a pleasure to have you, Leah. I really love having you around, and you're just, I love you. You're a great person, and I enjoy
Thank
having you around. Yeah. Um, Leah, you do have to choose a movie. So what's it gonna be? Have you made a decision yet? Will you?
I like forgot the whole time. I mean, okay, so we for sure are going to be doing Hard Candy and Secretary at some point.
Thanks for just giving out the picks like that.
Oh shit, was I not supposed
Yeah, you're not supposed to. So
to
all right,
me out?
guys.
Edit me out. Don't the Patreon.
No, I don't edit
spoil
shit.
it.
I'm not gonna edit that. But so Leah will be returning in season 3 with 2. Leah always has multiple picks, is what we're trying to say. Leah gets like around 4 picks per season because I just really like having her around, and the movies we get to discuss. We always have some really interesting stuff to bring up. But of course, Leah is in grad school, so they don't have all the time in the world to devote to the
Yeah.
podcast like she used to.
Yeah.
So we had to break apart some picks this season and transfer some to season 3. So
It was sad.
I gave you the whatever. So I'm guessing you want to choose hard candy.
Yeah.
All right. Leah is choosing hard candy for her return to season 3, and of course, you're gonna find out that her second pick for season 3 is also secretary. So thanks for just going ahead and just ruining that surprise.
I'm sorry. That's okay. They can watch it beforehand.
Yeah, don't ruin the one that we still, because this isn't Leah's last time on the show this season. Leah's still coming back for another episode this season as you look at
Surprise
another film.
episode.
But do not ruin that one. Do not ruin that one.
I forgot I wasn't supposed to tell.
Yeah, you really kind of shit the stick with that one. Yeah, you really fucking shit the stick with that one. But
Okay.
it's okay. It's okay. I enjoy talking to you in any fashion that I can get it. So yeah. So Leah will be choosing Hard Candy 2005 for next season of the Cinema Condition. So yeah, Leah, you want to let them know where they can find you and other stuff like that?
I'm on Twitch and Twitter at Lumpy Space Bitch. Again, the I is a 1. I'm on Instagram as Leah Blatodea, which is the Latin word for cockroaches. So you can find me there too.
I'm telling you guys, Leah has some really interesting stuff that she's into.
I like bugs.
Yeah. All right. As always, I can be found on the Nerd Chicano on both Instagram and Twitter. I do have a link tree that you can go and visit, the Nerd Chicano, so you can go and subscribe to my YouTube channel and other stuff that I use, twitch.tv/the Nerdy Chicano as well. I do a lot of other cool stuff. I'm launching my page, I'm launching my own, like, my YouTube channel. Well, I have my YouTube channel, my YouTube channel just has my films that I've made. So I'm kind of launching some stuff within that YouTube channel to kind of add some more content to it. So you guys can go and check it out and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please take a shot every time I say YouTube channel. So, just do that. So yeah, go and check that out, guys. And just stick around with the Cinema Condition. Go ahead. I hope you guys are enjoying the second season. We got some really, really good stuff coming up. I have a couple of episodes already planned out to be recorded. So I hope you enjoyed this episode and the episodes that came before this. Of course, the Cinema Condition feed does have season 1 of the Cinema Condition. So if you want to go ahead and catch up with the Cinema Condition, also take a shot every time I say the Cinema Condition. Go ahead and check it out. They're all there. And they're waiting for you to appreciate them with all its wonderful, wonderful audio-ness, whatever. And without further ado, it's been a lot of fun, and I'll go ahead and say goodbye for now, but I'll catch you guys next week when we look at another movie with another guest. And as always, guys, I don't have an outro, but I hope you guys stay safe. I love you all, and I'll see you guys on the next one.